So to get us started talking about twins, why don't we talk about the different types of twins? Because there's many different types.
Why don't we let Dr. Emily talk about the
Yes.
different types of twins? Because she seems
I keep
to be
mixing
able.
up the words, so I would prefer also if you would do it.
And I just want to say it's weird to say that we're starting out when we've already
Yes.
done the second half.
So I just want to say that we talked for so long next door that we ran out of time. So Dr. Emily has to start seeing patients. So we did the second half first, and now we're doing the first half
So
second.
forgive our wonky flow if
Yes.
it's off.
Our
Yes.
flow is always on.
Also,
Very
we should
flowy.
never ask for forgiveness for our wonky flows, but we're gonna do that today.
So let's let Dr. Emily explain the different types of twins.
So funny thing is, I didn't even know what the different types of twins were until I had twins, but now I've
It's usually
seen
how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. So the most common type of twins is what we call di-di twins, or dichorionic diamniotic, which means two placentas, two amniotic sacs, which is fraternal twins. Usually, you can have di-di twins that are identical, but it's
interesting.
really rare because that would be one egg that got fertilized that's split completely, but that's not usually. So di twins is two eggs, two sperm.
And that's the one you hear about most out of hospital, which is why we know it best, because that's generally speaking, like when you're talking out of hospital birth, what your provider is going to be looking for.
Yeah, lowest risk as far as twins go. So that's the kind of twins I had, which is why I knew I could have a home birth. So di twins, and then you have mono-di twins, which is monochorionic, so one placenta, diamniotic twins. So those are identical twins. If they share a placenta, and it wasn't that their placentas fused, but like only one placenta formed.
And I know sometimes it can be hard to tell because even in an ultrasound, sometimes fraternal twins, their placentas will fuse, and so it's really hard to tell, is it one placenta or is it two?
Yeah, and sometimes that's where the like genetic testing comes in post-birth.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So that's mono-di twins, and then we have mono twins, which is going to be monochorionic, so one placenta, and monoamniotic, one sac, and that is the highest risk twins because this is where you get that twin-to-twin transfusion happens, where one baby is taking all the nutrients and the other baby is getting no nutrients.
And it's also a higher risk even in pregnancy because the babies are not in their own sacs, so their cords and everything can get really wrapped and entangled. So there's even a higher risk for not carrying their pregnancy to term because of that.
Do they typically, I don't know, maybe you know this, when do they recommend being like sectioned for those twins? I'd imagine most aren't doing a vaginal birth for mono twins.
It's not unheard of, not impossible, but I think usually like 36-ish weeks is
But I feel
normal.
like most in-hospital providers are suggesting that for any of the twins.
38
Well, just
weeks
like
is
you
typical
said,
for
yeah,
di.
Yeah, you just have to find the providers that's going to support you and different options.
Mm-hmm.
So when I guess you probably didn't have to have this conversation, but did you and Natasha talk about what she would be comfortable with you working with her out of hospital in terms of like if you didn't have di twins, or was that never a conversation because you knew from the beginning that you guys had?
We didn't have that conversation yet because we wanted to find out what
Okay.
kind of twins we were having first and then go from there. So,
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I was like not going to the hospital anyways.
So if you had, is there anything that would have sent you to the hospital?
I better be dying.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about the reasons why twins births are considered higher risk. We'll take the pregnancy stuff out of it altogether. We'll just talk about the birth right now. I feel like the biggest one is because very often there is a breech baby in there, and I feel like people are uncomfortable with breech birth.
Yeah, and most providers are, my understanding is that they can do the head down A, breech B, but they won't do breech A.
Yeah.
So
and
that seems to be pretty common.
In the hospital as well, I feel like that's what they're looking for as well if they're determining a vaginal breech birth.
I've also heard, so on some of our Facebook groups, that if baby B is bigger than baby A, they won't do a vaginal delivery because they don't think that baby B will fit, which I think I don't like.
And
that
even
drives
if
me
the
nuts.
mother has had previous births as well?
Mhm.
Interesting.
And it's so like, I feel like our culture feeds into that because I remember even as a kid growing up watching those like medical shows and they'd be like, baby A came just fine, and then it's like she gets rushed in for a C-section.
We hope baby
for
B
baby
makes it.
B, and like they're just like
Yeah.
doing like T incisions and all sorts of, and I was like, that sounds insane.
Well, it's just like we said in our breech episode, like so much of breech birth is about lack of training with providers because it's not really done anymore. Unfortunately, it's not that it's necessarily higher risk, it's that we're not trained in how to manipulate, if needed, breech births, which are just different than vertex births.
And really common in hospital twin births, they do, if baby B's breech, they do a breech extraction, which that word just like, it's like nails on a chalkboard,
Is that like
right?
where they pull the
They
baby's
go up and
feet
get
out?
baby.
Yeah, I've heard of that a lot.
Like, why don't you just let them push them out?
Yeah.
I don't get that.
what? Yeah.
They don't like having the time lapse between the two births. I feel like it's just like another time factor.
And there are some midwives that do teach ways to facilitate a faster birth for baby. Like there are reasons to do that. Like I understand. I'm not
Yeah.
against it. It's just the whole extraction thing, like you
Yeah.
said. I'm like, what the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, why can't we just wait?
Well, one of my
Wait a second.
one of the favorite twin births I've heard of down in Harrisonburg was the babies were, I believe they were identical twins, but they were probably fraternal. They were born on different days though, because there was like a 30-minute to an hour break between them, and they just happened to be on separate days.
Yeah, so I had my first twin birth that I ever did was really interesting because it did not go super straightforward, and that also happened. But there was like a several hour delay, and so the baby B was born definitely the next day.
You know, this might have been the same birth, and it might have just been a longer gap
Yeah.
in time than I thought it was.
Because it was where you used to be a student.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, but it was really interesting because baby A was like one of the most peaceful births I've literally ever seen. He was like born in the tub, and it was just all glitter and rainbows and blah blah blah. But then there is that, you know, the uterus is bigger after baby A comes out, so there is a chance for the baby B to move around into a different position. So this particular mom, when she went into labor, both babies were head down. And then after baby, there's this really long gap, and then baby B ended up presenting, he had his arm like really weirdly behind his back. And so when you were telling me the story of your water sac coming out first, so that happened with this birth. And so like, it's kind of just like hanging there, and we're thinking, all right, baby's head's gonna be right behind it. And then like, one of the midwives was like, poke, 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 poke. And it was just like a hand floating in there. And we were like,
Didn't that cause a little bit of stress?
oh, yeah. It was probably the craziest birth I've ever seen. Because, and I guess this is where good providers come in handy that keep their cool and keep going. Because, yeah, they ruptured the bag, and we're trying to, because you don't know how the baby's hand is. Like, is it just like this and the head's right behind it?
Right.
But it wasn't like
It was,
that.
like,
It was
sideways.
like back behind, and so the baby, it was in a very weird way. And so they were trying to push the hand back up and find the head, and it just wasn't happening. It was a long 7 minutes, probably the longest 7 minutes of like my life. But eventually they did have to like go in, because it was like they're trying. It was such a weird position. Eventually they had to go in and find his foot, even though he had been vertex, and they pulled him out by his foot.
So that would be a reason
Yeah.
to grab a kid by its foot
Yes.
and pull them out.
It was-
If they decide to come out hand first,
It was
that would be a good
definitely-
indication.
It was definitely a good reason, and they were worried he might have some nerve damage in his arm or whatever. He didn't. He's 10 years old now, and
That's
God,
great.
10 years
No
ago.
That's
problem.
crazy.
Man.
Yeah. So things can happen, but it was like, even with all that, baby
But, like,
A,
it's-
baby B were totally fine.
That, like you said, it's like that's why you have a provider that you trust
Yeah.
that can handle situations that might be unexpected. That doesn't mean that those are going to be given a situation. Like, that's a very unique situation.
Yeah, definitely was a unique situation.
When I took the course, Nikki and Jen and I all went to see. Augustine teaches, and when I hear those stories, it makes sense to me. Like, she teaches to, there's a way to, like, when baby A comes out, immediately find baby B externally and just like palpate and kind of hold,
Just to know what to expect.
just to kind of hold them, like, so they don't go transverse or
good
in some
position.
weird way. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see the way, because so many different midwives do so many different things. So it's really
Yeah.
helpful to see all the different approaches.
It was interesting though, because we did palpate, and it felt like baby A was still head down. It was just
But
like
then when you get that arm-
that really wonky, yeah. So it was just an interesting birth. But then I want to talk about my other breech birth I did, or other twin birth I did, which was super straightforward. But we ended up transferring this mom to the hospital because baby A was like, I mean, we've talked about how foot-link breech isn't really a thing for full-term babies.
Right.
But was presenting with like 1 foot down and like not a standard breech. She decided to transfer to the hospital and ended up asking the doctor if he would like give her PIT. They scheduled her for a section, but she had eaten food, and they're like, so you can't have section for 6 hours. And she's like, will you give me Pitocin, and if I go into labor before then, I can have my babies. And he was like, okay.
Sure.
My jaw like hit the floor. I was like, what the? Is this really
Well, he
happening?
was obviously comfortable with.
Yeah, and she was
twins
a
and
perfect
breeches.
candidate because she'd had a lot of babies and she had fast births.
So she's part of the Cavern Club.
Yep. So they put her on PIT, and within an hour, like she started contractions, and she was kind of like you. Like contractions started, and then I was like, baby, and the breech baby just literally like flew out. Like it was.
Was there violin music?
I mean, probably not. It was in the hospital, but everybody and their mother came in to watch. Like every nurse and student, and like it's a breech baby and twins.
Did you have people that were attending other people, like their moms and sisters that also came in? Because that would have been me.
Not
I'd have
that
been
I
like,
knew
can I
of.
please come into your room?
Not that I knew of, but maybe they just like put masks and scrubs on some people
Just
and like,
pretended.
pretended that they were someone important. I don't know. And then baby A came out, or baby B came out like within a minute later, and it
That's
was
awesome.
like I was just like, ah. Yes, it was amazing.
So wild. So we were talking about risk.
I was going to say, I don't have anything
You're-
to add to that.
You're not talking in the microphone.
Do you see?
So with that, we got caught up in those stories because we were talking about like what the risks are in labor specifically.
Yes.
So I feel like that covers that. Do we want to talk about like more about statistics, how common twin births are, and like what the risks are in pregnancy as well? Or
I mean, do you want to?
we have the info.
Yeah,
That's
if
a
we want
lot.
to share it.
I feel like that's a lot. I feel like there's also other risks. I mean, there's reasons that people don't feel comfortable with breech and twins out of the hospital. Like you run the risk of the placenta coming out before the baby if your placenta still, or if your uterus is still cramping. So I feel like there are other risks. It's not like people are like, I don't like twins and I'm not doing it. So I just wanted to say that. It's like,
Yeah. Well, why don't you talk about some of those things?
no, because then I'll just keep going.
Just keep
and,
going, just listing it all off.
I could just feel, I would say they're judging us like, wow, you guys just gave me this beautiful twin birth story, and now this first half is going to be like, here's all these things that could go wrong.
The reason I'm saying it is because it is true. The issue is not having a skilled provider.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if the provider understands the risks and how to fix them, then great.
Yeah, so basically the flow of this episode is that there is a reason why twins can be considered higher risk, but it is totally doable and you can have an amazing birth with twins.
Exactly.
So, as we were saying, do your research, figure out what you feel most comfortable with, because in my experience, even when things don't go completely smoothly, like they did for Dr. Emily, they still can happen.
And find the providers who are going to support you in your choices.
Yeah. Exactly, which is basically the moral of every single one of our episodes.
Right, and it's the same as anything else. Like any birth has risks, in or out of the hospital. So I just wanted to say, we do recognize the risk of twin birth as we do with any sort of birth at all. So we don't want to be accused of glossing over nothing ever being able to go wrong. But also there are providers out there that are really, really, really skilled in this area. So
Yeah.
that is all.
And I wanted to cover on a little bit because I know the second half of this episode is longer, so we don't have to make the first half as long. But that I wanted to talk about postpartum for twin moms, and I know we talked about your experience with postpartum.
Or we will in the second half.
We will in the second half. We already told them we already did it. But I have seen moms who have a really hard time postpartum with twins, who, the one that I'm thinking of, the first 6 months of their life is just completely a blur. She couldn't eat, she couldn't sleep. She was just her face was just in shock all the time. And she's like, I don't remember that. I don't remember anything about it.
Most women have a fuzzy period, right? You hope after a couple of months they come out of it, but I imagine with two it probably extends that pretty significantly.
I think birth order matters a whole bunch too. So
Yeah.
my twins were number 4 and 5. So number 4 and 5, I'm like,
You have some experience.
yeah,
under your
I feel
belt.
like I kind of maybe know what is going on, but for 1 and 2, man, that would be
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
hard, and
Yeah.
support network is so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
at that
Yeah,
point.
so could you tell us some things that really, really, really were key for you to
Well,
survive?
obviously having breastfeeding experience plays into it. So if you were trying to breastfeed twins for the very first time, I mean, nursing a number one singleton baby can be challenging. So if you don't have a supportive network of people ready to support you with 2 babies nursing, that could be a huge challenge. You got to have a meal train. Number one, you must have people cook for you. You cannot, even if your spouse is there, there's 2 hands on each baby a lot of times during the day. So it really just comes down to support. Like, you have to have people to help you. And I mean, I'm in these poor twin mom groups, and some of these moms don't have that, and it breaks my heart. Like, ouch, that's so hard.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we give this advice for postpartum moms in general, but I do feel like there is this push for moms to just try and get back to normal so soon, and they're putting all this mental pressure on them to be like, you know, with even one baby, like, I need to be able to get all the stuff done that I used to and be who I used to be, and they need all this attention. And so with 2 babies, it's just like intensified even more. And so it's just like, I just love that advice of just like, give yourself grace, give yourself the permission to not get anything accomplished but staying alive and keeping your babies alive for
setting
like
realistic
a year.
expectations. And I would just within the last probably 6 months have I gotten comfortable with taking all 5 children somewhere by myself, right? So I mean, it took that long.
That is not long. How old was Brock before I would leave I was like, absolutely. She said, do you want to go to the park? I'm like, are you crazy? I'm not taking all these children to the park. I might die.
We still try to leave as many of your kids at home as we safely can whenever we do anything.
Yes. Yeah. So good job, you.
Well, there's definitely, like, I just have to give up. I can't go in my home office and do anything. Like, there just have to be 2 hands on deck at all times, and you just have to be realistic. I think before the twins were born, I was like, well, I'm going to be tired until 2023, and I think that's about right. I'm going to have another baby. I'll sleep again in 2024.
Listen, did you...
This too shall pass.
This has nothing to do with postpartum, but I have to ask you this completely inappropriate question. Did you plan to have more after the twins?
Or my husband was very adamant that we were not having more babies after the twins, but... because we were planning to have a 4th baby, which would have been great, but then we had a 5th baby, so then I'm like, we got an odd number. Oh, I have one more.
Girl, you are a hot mess and have in such a beautiful way.
So I kind of always knew we would have a 6th baby, so I wasn't like, hey, honey, make that vasectomy appointment right now, right?
You're like, oh, it just got canceled. I don't know what happened. Oh, the office is closed again. That's so weird.
I knew it. I knew in your mind you were having another one.
I'm always plotting.
That makes me so happy.
It's amazing to me how different people can be and still get along so well. Like, I adore you, and I'm just like, I cannot imagine feeling that way.
Yeah. Ever.
She's pulling it off, man. Pulling it off.
I don't know. That's a strong
I
statement
would say
there.
you are thriving.
Yeah. She's what I'm trying to be, but
You have
it's not working. What?
You have a holiday tree in your beautiful office in Chantilly.
I mean, for the
Thriving.
record, people think we're thriving all the time, too.
That's true.
But then they record with us and they realize we're not.
So before, because I know this first half will be shorter, before we go to the second half, like, do we miss any key element in discussing twins? Like pregnancy or postpartum or the birth or anything? Are you like, oh, I wish they would have touched on this? Or are you...
The procedures of twins, right? So there's all these procedures that are set up for twins, like all the multiple ultrasounds. But studies have shown that all these multiple ultrasounds don't actually change the outcome, right? So I think there's a lot of unnecessary procedures, just in like most pregnancies that happen with twin pregnancies that are, unnecessary sometimes. So.
And that's true.
And actually create more
singleton.
stress.
That's true in singleton pregnancies as well. That doing ultrasounds has proven to not actually improve outcomes. It makes people feel better, but doesn't actually improve outcomes or lower cesarean rates.
It increases intervention, actually, which can lead to worse outcomes. Yeah,
and I wonder if it's similar to like the EFM. So for electronic fetal monitoring, it's been proven not to increase better outcomes, but actually lead to a higher rate of cesarean. But then what I read and what I hear is that, but every once in a while there is something that
it finds.
Right. So for that one thing,
you have to look at the risks, benefits, just like any other decision.
So the same thing would be like for ultrasound, like having one ultrasound after another. Because there have been times, I will say, I've had babies born with issues and they've had ultrasounds.
And they never
caught it. One baby actually, pulmonary artery was on the wrong side of the heart, so it wasn't. How did they miss that? Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's like, I guess sometimes I do love an ultrasound, and I do love the tools that we have. But yeah, sometimes I
love
think
me a good
we just put so
ultrasound.
much faith
Yeah.
in it.
Well, I have to say too, like obviously this isn't across the board, but I have been in the same situation too, where a lot of my biggest birth defects are not caught prenatally,
Yeah.
and the parents end up being really thankful that they had the home birth experience and then the time at home they had
Right.
before having to discharge to handle that situation, if it's obviously safe for the baby to do so, right? And so yeah, like you said, like it might not be like what the mainstream message is what's normal and appropriate, but it doesn't mean that it's not serving families.
Right. And I love ultrasounds. I
Yeah.
do want everyone to have one, but also like that's not all that there is.
Yeah. And
you
so
know?
I guess the moral of that too is that a lot of twin moms go into twin pregnancy and it's just like, okay, this is what you do and this is when you get your ultrasounds and now you have to see maternal fetal medicine. And if that makes you feel more secure and better, then like great,
Perfect,
do
yeah.
that. But if you're one of those people that's just like, that's not what I want to do, and I know my, the risks, and I know how I would prefer to do things, that it's a very reasonable option to forego those
And there's a
things as
provider
well.
for that.
Yeah.
For that option,
And all these conversations about choices are really important, because I think one of the things that blew my mind when I was looking into stuff on this episode while we were driving here is that the rate for twin birth has risen 70% since 1980, and partially that's because of like increased use of like IVF, which increases the chance of twins, but also the later you have your babies, the more likely you are to have twins as well. So women waiting later in life to have children is contributing to that number, but it's like 70% increase. That definitely requires like more conversations around choice.
And it makes me happy that I'm done having children.
And
I don't
that
know
you knocked him out before you were 35. Wait, how old were you with Brock?
What?
How old were you with Brock?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
And
30.
I just think in
something.
general that I know that across the board women are having more and different issues hormonally when it comes to a lot of different things, and so even just like the way our hormones are changing due
What?
to water supply or drug, birth control pills or whatever it is, soy, whatever it is you think could be causing that. That could also change like how many eggs people are releasing during ovulation. Like it's a lot
It's
of
all the
different
drugs
things
in the
that
water.
could be
From the
contributing to
fracking.
that.
Oh, you know about fracking.
And the mountaintop scraping.
Wow, I was so close. You're so close.
We learned about fracking.
You learned
today.
all about those things in the car ride this morning. But
All right.
all right, we're gonna wrap
I
this
think-
one up.
Yeah, I think we can go on to the second half and talk about our birth story of the week. But I just wanted to do a little shout out because before we came here to record, the reason why we were late was because we stopped over at Premier Birth Center and we said hi to everybody over there.
Literally everybody was there. It was amazing.
I just want to do a little shout out to all you ladies at Premier Birth Center Chantilly. It was so good to see you guys.
It's Courtney's birthday, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Which means we got to eat all your
Thank
treats.
you for letting us eat all your bagels and fruit and pastries. It was delightful.
It was
And
awesome.
Thank you for letting us snuggle all of you and share stories. And okay, well let's go to
Let's
break.
go to break and then the second half.
Yes.
It's gonna be the weirdest episode.
Okay, it's working this time.
Yay!
Welcome back from that delightful break.
So delightful.
I really enjoyed my Kava stress and anxiety relief tea.
Yeah. Which one? What does your little thing say? What belongs to you shall come to you. Oh, well,
I like that.
it's
I
cute.
think everything belongs to you.
Everything
Appreciate
belongs to
yourself and honor yourself.
You definitely need that one, Kim.
Yeah, I honor the hell out of myself.
Yeah.
Not as much as Jess honors the hell out of herself, but
No one can honor themselves as much as Jess does.
I love to honor myself. So we're using the second half of the episode to talk specifically to Dr. Emily about her experiences having twins. And
Carrying twins.
raising twins.
Meredith, you're gonna have to start grabbing the mic before you say stuff.
Carrying twins.
This is terrible.
It's not gonna work.
So can we start with you telling us about the moment that you found out you were having twins?
Well,
What did that look like?
really kind of funny because like 3 days after our positive pregnancy test. So positive pregnancy test December 26th. And like 3 days later, I had this dream. And usually my dreams are like Technicolor, LSD, wild, crazy trips, right?
That's awesome.
But this was a super vivid, realistic dream that I had a home birth of twins on hands
what?
and knees. Yeah,
No
boy
way.
girl twins. And I was like, that was weird. And I told my husband and my midwife, and both of them were like, ha, so funny. That's really funny. Let's not have twins.
Yeah. Did you have twins on your radar at all? Because like, do you have a family history or anything that would have set you up for that?
Well, two things. One, I mean, kind of, but not really. My grandma was a twin, but I never met her other twin. She had passed long before I was born. But then when my first was younger in nursing, I loved breastfeeding, and I remember saying out of my mouth, gosh, I wish I had twins so I could breastfeed twins, just to say I did, right? So I think
You
did that to yourself.
I know, I totally
Those
put
words
that
have
energy
never come out of my mouth.
into the universe. So the universe was like, give me a minute, I got this.
I have to say that I think there's totally something to that really early birth dream, because
Mhm.
I had birth dreams about both of mine when I was pregnant very early, and they both came true.
Oh, it was super crazy. But so then time went on, and I don't do early ultrasounds, and I don't do hardly anything. So, you know, there were a couple little things along the way that were like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, my uterus felt a little big, but this was my 4th pregnancy, right? So,
Yeah, so you have how many children right now?
sure, we have 5.
Okay,
Mhm.
so you had 3, and then
Mhm.
you found out you were pregnant.
With a 4th, we were planning to have a 4th, so this was like a planned thing,
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah, I know. But along the way, but my labs, my HCG was like off the charts, right? But my midwife had just had a singleton mama, same thing, and they did double check with ultrasound, just one baby, crazy high HCG. So we're like, it just means nothing, right?
Yeah.
Could mean nothing. And then at like 17 weeks, which should not be hard, and it's typically not hard for my pregnancies, I remember sitting on the edge of the bed trying to put my pants on. I'm like, this pregnancy is really hard. My husband is like, there's just one in there. Like he was
just like trying to undo all the damage
Yeah.
your dream did.
Yeah, he really did not want to have twins because I mean,
Well, that's too bad.
yeah. So
Yeah,
what,
who wants twins?
I'm sure there. I
So
actually know
many
people.
people want twins.
Yeah.
It's crazy
Wow.
to
I
me.
actually do know people
I
who want
hear
twins.
a lot of people say, I just would love to have twins, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
Which
you know what I hear
part?
more is people wishing twins on other people. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you had that experience, like, because I feel like when people first find out other people are expecting, like, oh, it could be twins, and it's like, why would you say that? Like, after you found out you had twins, were people like, oh, I'm so sorry? You know what I mean? Like, or were people pretty excited
I
for
don't remember
you?
anybody being like, ooh. Mostly people were like, whoa,
They
that's
did
so
it when they
crazy.
walked away.
Yeah. Glad it's not me. But then it wasn't until like 18 and a half weeks at my midwife appointment, she's like, your fundus measures 27.
Oh my.
She's like, maybe we should get that checked out.
So were you going to have the 20-week scan, or were you
I
planning on
don't
not?
usually do
Oh.
any ultrasounds. So for this one, I'm like, well, crap. We should probably
Yeah.
make sure there's just 2 and not 3, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh.
27, like, that's a huge difference.
that was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole pregnancy was like, what's my belly gonna measure this time, right?
Yeah.
And I think we
So-
got to 55.
Holy
I was like, I'm 55 weeks pregnant.
Oh.
Wait, I want to put a picture on the video of what your belly looked like, though.
Oh,
at the
yeah.
end, because I feel like when you hear that as a provider, you're like, how is that possible? But then when you look at how your belly shape was, I'm like, oh, okay, that
was
makes more sense. Can I
enormous.
share this?
Yes,
Is that okay?
of
Sorry.
course.
Oh my gosh.
And we
it's
can-
so cute.
That's a 55 centimeter belly, friends.
And
It
we
was
can
huge.
also post that picture. I'll take a picture of it and we can post it on our social
So-
media for people who listen.
When you said you should get the ultrasound to make sure it's 3 and not 2,
Or
that
two.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
Two, not 3. Ah, see, you made that face. Now you
Yeah,
made it.
exactly.
So at that point, had you already just accepted that you were probably having twins?
Yeah,
Okay.
because in my mind, I knew it the whole time, right?
Because of the dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd had people ask like, "Oh, do you have an inkling what it is?" I'm like, "The only inkling I have is
They?
twins."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, that's funny." But I wanted to do the ultrasound because I knew I wanted to have a home birth. I would be a terrible hospital patient, so
You would
not
be
an
the
option for
worst.
me.
You would actually be the best, but the worst for the people taking care
Yeah,
of you,
I'd be like,
probably.
Back up.
No, you may not
And
touch
it would
me at
just,
all.
for someone who has such holistic births, the amount of anxiety
Oh,
for
God,
you
I
would
would be-
cause to go into a hospital.
I would not be kind in the hospital. It would be ugly.
Which is so funny because you're so like glowy and cheerful and chipper. I can't imagine you being mean to people.
Don't take me to the hospital.
So you went in for your ultrasound.
Yes, and it was 2 babies. And I mean, we don't find gender out ever, so we left that a surprise. But yeah, so there was 2. Everybody looked good, no concerns. It was the type of twins, the lowest risk for home birth, so I knew we were good to have a home birth. So
what were your feelings when you found out? Was it kind of just like, oh, I knew, or what were your partner's feelings? Like, what went through your head?
it was definitely like, oh, we knew. I mean, we were like, well, shit, we're really having twins. Okay, here we go. And then you have to do, they're like, can we afford twins? Like, there's that, right? Because this is baby number 4 and 5. This isn't like 1 and 2. So I'm like, God, we got to pay for daycare for 2 more kids.
Oh, that is
so
a
just
lot.
wrapping your head around having to have double of everything and
Double your pleasure, double your fun.
So yeah, but yeah, it was okay. I mean, we weren't like super stressed, but we definitely had to like think some things through for sure.
Yeah. So as the pregnancy progressed and like for you to have a home birth, I know we talked about that a little bit. Like some people are like, oh, if baby A's head down, if baby B's head down, how'd that all go for you?
Well, thankfully, my midwife knows that I am like hands off. I don't do nothing by the book. So I was like, even if one of these babies is, breech, we were expecting one to be breech, in fact. And I was like, I have a cavernous vagina, I'll just push it out. No problem.
Me too.
I know. I've had 3 babies, no problem.
Check out that introitus.
Yeah. We usually started something called the Cavern Club, and people are like, oh, we came here to go hiking. I was like, that's not what this is.
Introitus at your own risk.
So I wasn't ever really worried about a breech birth. That was never a super concern of mine. So I just knew we were going to progress through the pregnancy pretty much like normal. And it did. It went well. So
I feel like a lot of providers are cool with baby A, the first baby to present, being head down, and then if baby B is breached, that's generally a safer out of hospital for most practitioners. But did you guys feel confident doing baby A breach if you had to?
I didn't care.
Awesome.
I wasn't going to the hospital, so it wasn't an option.
She's a prime candidate for a breach because you're like, I got this. Totally fine.
Yeah.
Birth is one of my favorite things to do, so I was
clearly.
I never had like a concern. I was like, maybe so
You're amazing.
That's awesome.
or crazy.
I'm jealous of your midwife.
So when it came time to have your babies, what positionally, what ended up happening?
So funny. So we didn't do, again, I don't do all the things, right? So I didn't do the typical ultrasounds.
Ultrasounds
Yeah.
CNC. Okay.
No, because I was like, if babies are growing and they're moving and our heart rates are good, there's no need to do all these ultrasounds.
You were measuring 55.
I was going to say, don't think growing
I
is a
think you
problem.
were growing.
Yeah. So we did one last teeny tiny little position scan at 38 and a half weeks with the ultrasound tech next door. So she knew me, and I'm like, you got 10 seconds, find out where they are. And Natasha, my midwife, wanted a guesstimate on the weight. And I was like, don't tell me their weights. I don't want to know. I can open it in my head. I was like, I need to know they're over 6 pounds, right? She's like, they're over 6 pounds. And
Did she say yes, or did she go, oh, they're over 6 pounds?
I definitely feel like she was like, yeah, they're over 6 pounds. And they were both head up actually at 38 and a half weeks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at your photos, and it looks like you did some acupuncture. So I was going to ask if that was something you were trying to do to get them to flip
Yeah,
at
so
the
of
end.
course I was getting adjusted all the time, and we did some acupuncture, and it was summer, so I was in the pool all the time, and I was actually doing handstands in the pool and making the lifeguards very nervous.
I love doing that. I called it hippoing. I would do dives off the diving board.
Oh my God,
They'd be
that's
like,
so
oh God.
Yeah, so I mean, we were expecting breech babies at this point because you don't think that at 30 and a half weeks 2 babies are gonna flip and go
I
head down.
can't believe they did that.
Yeah.
Me either, and I don't ever know when they did it. Like I didn't feel it happen.
Weird.
Crazy.
During your prenatals, were they easy to palpate
No.
and like find their heart rates and stuff? or-
Find heart rates, yes, but we could never figure out where they were. Like
So
we had,
interesting.
of course, because I was in the birth center at this time. Like I'd be like, come feel my belly. All the midwives like, come check it out, right?
Yeah.
And we could never figure it out.
That's so crazy.
It was fun.
So before you get into any of the birth stuff,
Mhm.
you missed this whole conversation when you were, at that whole birth
Oh,
thing.
mhm.
But my Ann was like, do not make her sound like a normal human. Because
Yeah.
she's not. Do not make it sound like the way her birth went or any of that is normal. And I'm like, no, I think we do.
need to do that so people know that it can go this
birth
way.
can be normal, yes, but I have accepted my role as the village crazy lady, and so that's just who I am. So normal isn't really in my realm.
Well, welcome to our coven.
Our cavernous coven.
I mean, pretty soon you're in charge.
I was gonna
say you probably
I
haven't
have
entered the cavern
I have
club
the
yet.
pre-admission to the club.
So teeny tiny.
Teeny tiny Trinus. So, tell us about, unless there's something else you want to say about your pregnancy or feelings about that, but other than that, tell us about your birth. How pregnant were you when you went into labor?
Sure. Well, my feelings on the pregnancy, I will back up 2 seconds. My feelings on the pregnancy were, this is a twin pregnancy and I want to do it this way because I want to normalize this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when people tell me I can't do something, I'm like, I'm going to do it twice and take pictures.
Yeah, watch.
Literally.
And you did. Here's
Yeah.
the book.
Yeah. So that was definitely my feelings about the twin pregnancy. I had multiple people like, oh, is your doctor going to let you go past 38 weeks? I'm like, let me tell you something.
What?
Nobody's letting me do anything.
Yeah. That is like a bad word in my dictionary.
Yeah.
You're allowed to say the C word. Do not ever say the L word.
Yeah. So I definitely, tried to have that conversation when people would ask, like, well, I don't even have a doctor. And they'd be like, panic. I'm like, we're going to have these babies at home. Oh, God. Like.
Are you insane?
They're both
Yes.
breech. Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you so tired of being an ambassador by the end of it, or do you
No.
love that? You're like, yeah, let me tell you all about it.
Yeah, I definitely liked rocking some boats.
Yeah.
That's what I do for a living as I rock
Yeah.
boats. Yeah.
A lot of boat rocking. But
Boat and butt rocking.
That's what I
Apparently
said.
some other kinds of rocking too, because she's
Yes.
pregnant again. If you didn't notice.
Yeah. So
yeah, people can't see that are listening.
I know my shirt
know.
kind of hides it.
Well, I just said it. She's pregnant again.
Yes, Meredith and I are going to race to the
I
finish
know.
line.
I just found out that we have the same due date practically. So
I feel
I
like
keep trying
Dr.
to tell her
Emily's
she's
gonna win.
I also think she's
don't
gonna
know.
win, but she's also saying she carries forever. But you're telling me I'm gonna carry till I'm 43 weeks. So
We shall
We'll
see.
see.
I
If
actually
you-
have no idea what's going to happen with
Maybe
your
if you got some good chiropractic care and were consistent about it, you wouldn't.
Hey, I know a way we could make some money. We could do like a betting.
oh
For
yeah.
all of our Wine About Birth listeners out there, everyone send in like
Oh, we should do.
$5, and the person who wins gets money.
None of
I
it.
won't charge you, but I will. That can be our next Patreon post. I'll make it a little thing for our Patreon people.
Who had their baby first?
It's going to be Dr. Emily.
And not whose labor was shorter, because that's definitely you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can beat you.
I don't know. This mama I just saw this morning.
Oh.
She walked in and pushed out baby in 10 minutes. It was great.
It's amazing. How long was she in labor?
I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, it was
Not long.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I would love to hear more about your decision making in terms of stimming, because I also saw in your book that you decided to stim at a certain point.
Mhm.
So what made you decide to do that?
Well, first, so I knew I didn't want to have August babies because I have 2 August babies already. So I was like, I got to make it
Too
through.
many birthdays.
Yeah, I have too many birthdays in the same month. So I got to make it to September. And September 1st was my husband's birthday. And I was like,
Aw.
I wonder if I can have these babies on my husband's birthday.
That's the day my second daughter was born.
Aw, that's so cool. So, yes, so I did the stim kit on September 1st. I was done. I was pretty done at that point.
Yeah.
And what gestation were you?
39 weeks and 6 days.
God.
So, yeah, you can go full term with twins.
Yes,
and I'm
you
in this.
can.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I'm in like a multiples group on Facebook, and there's people going there like 41 and 5, and I'm like, oh, God, that's a long time.
That sounds terrible
Yeah.
and awesome, but also terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely doable. One of my things that got me through this pregnancy is, I don't remember what point, when things were getting a little hard, I put on my bathroom mirror a thing that says, I can do hard things, right? I got this. And literally it's still there because every day
Every
Because
day
you're
was
still
hard.
doing hard things.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever seen our shirts that say your body was meant to do hard things?
Oh, no, I need to get that shirt. Yeah. So,
Covers a lot of situations.
So many different situations.
yeah.
All right, so at almost your due date,
Mhm.
you did the stim kit
Mhm.
for
Started-
how long?
11 o'clock in the morning.
Can I clarify? You
Yeah.
made your husband birthday pancakes
Yes,
first, right?
I got up
then
and made
you
him
did
birthday
your
pancakes.
stim kit.
That was very nice of you at 39 and 6
Yeah.
with twins.
Yeah, but I
How
had
did you
to.
reach the stove?
It was difficult.
Yeah.
Dishes and stove were definitely a challenge at that point. So we did So at 11 o'clock, it's funny, we came to the birth center, and one of my patients had just had her baby that morning. And so, and I saw the midwives that were here for that. And I was picking up my stim kit to take home. And so I went home and started a stim kit at like 11-ish. And then, let's see, I did it for like an hour and a half. And let's see, I could definitely feel it was working. I had done a stim kit with my third, so I knew like what to look for. And I was definitely having some mild contractions. I was definitely all in my head though. I'm like, I'm gonna do the stim kit and then I'm gonna take a nap and then maybe I might need to do it again. I was in denial.
True though.
Denial.
Right? No.
Total denial. Absolute. And then, after an hour or so of doing the stim kit, I went downstairs and big red flag. I didn't eat my lunch. I was like, nah, I'm not feeling it. That should have been. I know if I don't want food, something's wrong, right? And my husband also, we promised our midwife, we're not going to do that thing where we pretend that you're not in labor.
Right.
And
did Natasha know at least that you had done the stim kit?
we had kind of talked about that she should be there if I did a stim kit, but I did it anyways.
Oh my gosh!
She's one of those.
Yeah,
Dr.
I'm also
Emily.
trying to figure out how you fit food in your body with your fundal height
I
of
have-
55 centimeters.
I have a long torso. I can't
Yeah.
lie.
You are.
I'm not
you
short.
are tall.
Yeah,
That's
so-
nice.
No, I ate aplenty. But yeah. So I didn't eat my lunch, but then at the moment 3-year-old. Yep. So my 3-year-old needed to go down for a nap. So I actually went upstairs and nursed him down to a nap. And I thought that nursing him would actually pick up my contractions, but they kind of slowed down a little bit.
Weird.
And then as soon as I laid him down in the bed and walked out of the room, I was like, here we go.
So you were giving birth
Oh.
and still breastfeeding. Did you end up nursing all 3 of them together?
He probably nursed a couple times after
Okay.
the twins was born, and I was like, yeah, we're done.
You're such a badass,
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Even nursing all the way through a twins pregnancy.
And how did he deal with that? Was he okay with it? Because he's
I
3,
think-
right?
Yeah, he was only down to nursing at nap and nighttime, and
Okay.
so it wasn't hardly anything.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an okay transition. So as soon as I laid him down for nap, I was like, it's go time. I texted my midwife. I'm like, you can come now.
You're like, right now.
By the
way,
I did the stim kit and didn't tell you.
No, I think she knew I was doing it, but I hadn't told her to come yet. So she knew that I was like my space, and
So
that
she was ready.
Yes,
Ready.
all of my birth team, because it was not
Poison
just her,
ready.
because we had
Yeah.
2 midwives and a potential 3rd midwife who was familiar with breech births, right?
Okay.
And then we had a student and nurse. So we
Okay,
had
cool.
we had a whole team.
Yeah.
And so when you decided not to eat your lunch, were you actually having any contractions that you could feel? Or
Maybe I was like, oh, these are some strong Braxton Hicks.
Oh my gosh.
It was really terrible.
Denial
No, it
is
wasn't. It was
powerful.
awesome.
I in retrospect, I should have had to come, right? But oh well.
It's fine.
And then, so as soon as I laid him down, I was like, let's go. And my husband and I walked into our bedroom, got down on hands and knees on the ball, and it was like literally like a semi truck hit my cervix. That's what it felt like. I was like,
oh my god.
baby's coming out really soon. So
Did you get that out? Were you able to say?
I don't think I did. It was all internal. I was like,
Yeah.
yep, here we go. So, they prepped the bed. Thankfully, my sister-in-law, who is a labor and delivery nurse, she was staying with us because she wanted to see the twin birth.
Yeah.
She kind of had wanted to be a midwife at one point, and so I was like, you gotta come to the birth. It was gonna be amazing.
Yes.
So she was there and helped my husband prepare the bed. And
You're not a water birther.
I don't have time for that.
Oh, okay.
nonsense.
I got no time for that.
No, we tried to have a water birth for first I labored in the tub, but I ended up getting out. And second, it was too fast. We didn't even get a drop of water in the tub. And after that, I was like, there's no
Screw
point.
it.
Yeah.
I'll stare at the tub while I push my kids out.
Yeah, I just have land babies. So got the bed ready. I did get over to the bed, giant splash of water, and then my daughter had originally wanted to help catch the baby because my
And
oldest
how
two.
old is she?
She at the time was 8.
Okay.
And my oldest 2 were in the room. So the 3-year-old was napping, and my oldest 2 were in the room.
That's so great.
It was really sweet. There's some good pictures of them in the book once we get there. And like 40 minutes after we had said, okay, it's go time, baby A was born. Yeah, before the midwives got
Yes, because Natasha didn't make it to the
didn't
first
make it.
one,
I didn't
right?
realize
Yeah.
that.
there. Yeah. So it was just me and my husband and Dr. Erica, my bestie.
And how
And
long was that from
sister-in-law.
when you started stimming?
So that was, I started stimming at 11, and this was 2:38.
Oh my gosh. And I don't think we clarified this, but you knew that your babies were head down at this point
No,
from your
I had no
physician's
idea.
gate. Oh, you had no idea.
No,
at
we
this
knew
point.
they were head up.
Oh, that's
so
right.
she
okay.
was anticipating breech babies.
Okay.
Mhm.
But then, from the time, though, that you were like, oh, I'm in labor, that was less than an hour.
Yeah, 40
like
minutes.
40 minutes.
Mhm.
That's insane.
That's wild.
It was kind of insane. That's why it felt like a semi-truck.
Yeah.
So then, but I mean, as soon as we could see head, or I mean, you can see it on the birth video, which I don't have for you guys. You can definitely tell it was a head, and we're like, okay, well, not a butt. So,
Did you go, that's weird. That's a weird looking butt.
Yeah.
well, so my sister-in-law, who's a labor and delivery nurse, she's like, I kept looking for a butthole, right? So I was looking for the breech baby.
She's like, wow, your baby's butt is so round. And did your daughter end up catching the first? Or was it
She,
just so
at the last
fast?
moment, changed her mind. It was just like kind of overwhelming. She was still really excited, but my husband did catch, which he had caught number 2 and 3 as well. So he's
nice.
he's a professional. He's
He's
a
a
mid
professional.
a mid husband
Yes,
for
he is.
sure.
Oh my gosh, that's so
A
cool.
doodler.
Yeah.
So when you said, so you leaned over the ball,
and
you
then I moved
felt,
to bed.
You felt
Mhm.
it, and then you were able to get up to the bed,
Mhm.
and then.
Yeah, because it's funny.
But they knew it was coming because
Oh,
you
yeah.
were like, yeah. Okay.
And it's part of me was like, I gotta fulfill my prophecy, right? In my dream, I had these babies on hands and knees in the
Oh.
bed.
Stop it. No, you did not.
Did you actually think that in your head? Oh.
Can you be on my team for everything ever in life,
Yes.
please? I need more people like you.
Crazy people.
So cool.
You need crazy
Yes.
people?
We're all crazy.
I prefer highly motivated.
Can't you tell she likes crazy people?
I mean, we're all here in her office by invite.
I wouldn't call us the most sane of the bunch.
And you had die babies, so
Yes.
they had separate placenta, separate sacs. So
Mhm.
then you waited for the placenta for the first baby.
Nope. So placentas come after babies.
After both of them. Okay.
So he was born, came out screaming.
Oh, but question,
Yeah.
because even amongst different midwives,
Uh-huh.
there's some midwives who don't like to leave the cord pulsating completely for the 1st baby.
But that was definitely something we had talked about. And
Yeah.
if at all possible, I was like, if something has to happen and we need to cut the cord, okay, but I would really like to keep them both
Yeah.
intact.
Yeah.
So we did. So he
Yay.
came out and cord was fine. And then, so waiting for the second baby, this is really cute on the video, and this is, I'm sad you can't see this, but so part of the amniotic sac came out in like a little like balloon of liquid, right?
For baby
Yeah.
B.
Yeah. And so
I've
my
seen
husband so gingerly held this little balloon of amniotic fluid for a good 15 minutes. It was so cute. Until Kelly finally showed up. So she actually wasn't my primary
She
midwife.
like, you can let that go.
Yeah, he's like, she like popped it. She's like, you don't have to hold that.
But he's like, okay.
It was so sweet.
I
Though.
do know a lot of more baby bees and twins. They're more likely to be born in the call.
I know.
than
I was hoping for a
singleton.
breech birth and a call baby, and I didn't get either one.
Who says those things?
It just had to be so straightforward.
Call baby fine, but a breach, you're like, I just wanted a breach.
So
Well, maybe this one.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
maybe you'll get found with this one.
Maybe. Good thinking.
She's like, wait, now that I want that, it's gonna happen because I
Yeah.
make things happen.
It has been our theme of the month.
It is a theme, yeah. So I feel like the twin births I've known about and like been a part of, like there's like a really good break between the two. But because the first one came so quickly, did you get much of a break?
29
between
minutes.
them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, not really.
So-
It's decent. I probably got 15 minutes where I didn't have any contractions.
Oh, but that was nice.
Yeah, and then I have it on a video on my phone. It's like one of the live photos, so it's like a 30 split second thing where I'm like, oh god, I have to do that again.
Yes, that's what I was like. At what point did it hit you that, oh no.
It was
Yeah.
like, is it like the eye of the storm in a hurricane? Like, oh god, the second wall's coming.
Yeah, here it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I felt it build again after that 15 minutes, and I knew
I
I was
think
in
I would
it.
just be terrified. But I guess if you like birth,
I was gonna say you hate birth though.
I hate birth. I hate giving birth. So I think I would just be like, I don't wanna.
Yeah.
But you like birth.
You would have locked yourself in the bathroom.
At this point, the hardest thing was my hamstrings started cramping from being on hands and knees on the bed. So I was
And you
like,
were not letting go of that drink.
well, I did. I was like, I gotta stand up. I can't stay here. I gotta stand up. So I did stand up for
Okay.
the second one, and he was born. Kelly got there like 5 minutes before he was born, but my husband did still catch him, and he was head down too.
How weird. I wonder when they turn. Like, how do you
Yeah.
not feel that?
2 babies.
I
just
don't know.
2
flipping
babies
around.
turning.
They were
Maybe they're
so
just
crazy.
like because while you're pool time, they're just like super synchronized. And they're like synchronized swimmers, just like flipping.
They
together.
conspire. Okay, she's asleep. Just a little to the left.
It was funny. This, of all my pregnancies, was my most comfortable because my belly was so big that I just, when I laid down on the bed, my belly like was totally flat on the bed because it was so enormous, right?
That's you.
Yeah. So.
Someone just walked in.
Yeah.
We're taking over all of her space here, so.
Totally fine. Welcome.
So then you had your babies.
Uh-huh.
How long did placenta
The
stay?
midwives made it. To
Yes,
the
so-
second.
Well, one of them did. Natasha didn't make
She
it.
didn't
for
make it to any.
I know, I know.
That's so disappointing.
She was sad. I
I'll
feel
bet
bad.
she was sad.
I know.
How could you be so cool? Next time, slow it down a little bit.
Okay, I'll try. I'll do my best.
Just a little bit I've gotten to know you today, though. If I was Natasha, I'd be like, I'm just gonna camp in
Yeah.
the
Well,
yard because I know how this is gonna go.
I can't lie. I have actually planned to have an unattended birth this time because no one ever makes it anyways.
Yeah.
So in your mind, you're just doing it.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have my sister-in-law, the labor and delivery
Okay.
nurse, come again. So,
So
she'll be at
are
the
you
house.
getting any care?
Yeah, I've seen her a few times, but like super sporadic because my pregnancies are really boring.
I'm feeling very anxious right now.
We talk about the fact
gonna
that you were
happen.
giving me a hard time for not getting regular chiropractic care like 2 minutes
You're right,
ago.
you're right.
Dr. Emily, are you getting regular prenatal care?
Hey, I did get the important
Define
stuff.
regular.
I did get the important stuff. We've done some blood work, right? I passed
Okay.
my glucose
Okay.
tolerance test.
Have you met
Great.
this woman? She's a force.
I mean, clearly.
Well, I mean, I have a fetoscope at home, so I can listen to
Okay.
baby. So
Does
baby sounds
Natasha
good.
like? Is she ever like? Maybe just can we just meet a little
She-
sooner? Or is she like it's cool?
She's cool.
Like,
Yeah, she has made a couple requests. I'm like, I'll think about it. So, you know, she knows where to how I do things. This is
Yes.
she's cool.
Yes.
This is why I have
That's
Natasha. She's
awesome.
amazing.
yes,
Right?
yes.
She knows I'm crazy.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about postpartum and
Okay.
what it was like nursing twins and
Mhm.
having 2 babies instead of 1.
Yeah, it was definitely different, right? Twice as hard, I would say.
Yeah.
I had, with all my other ones, I felt like I recovered quickly. And this time, I literally spent 2 weeks on my bed and didn't go anywhere. Which,
Oh wow, for
I know-
you is like, no.
yeah, crazy. Never happens. So I didn't even go downstairs for 2 weeks, which was out of the ordinary. And I felt it, and my belly was so floppy because it was so big.
Yeah, it takes longer for all that to go down.
Yeah, so I definitely had recovery time was longer, but nursing twins was, I mean, I loved it. I can't lie.
And they're still nursing, right?
Just at bedtime, and
Okay.
one of them is almost done. He'll latch on for a second and be like, "Empty, mama."
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
that happens when you
no.
get pregnant, right?
Yeah, it's like empty.
Brock used to say that to me.
I know.
I'm like, it's empty. You sure it's empty?
Other
Yes.
side, other side.
I'll double
Yeah.
check.
He would just go back and forth for a while.
He'd say, other side, then the other side. I'm like, no, they're both empty. Nuh-uh, not that one. I'm like, oh.
Well, the funny thing is with twins, they don't do that because they each have a boob.
Yeah.
Did they? Okay,
They have
so
their
did they
own
have
side.
their own side?
Now they do. When they were little, I would switch them because
Okay.
for range of motion and eye development and all that good
You're
stuff.
so smart.
Some
Never
days
would
not
have
so
thought of
much.
that.
Crazy. I'm very crazy. So, I would switch them back and forth. They would have a boob of the day, right? So, like, this was Dexter's boob one day, and then he would switch, and I would try to rotate that way. But now that they're older, this is Dexter's boob, and this is Joss's boob. And they know it, and they
So
point. They'll be like,
funny.
Jossie booby, or Jossie milk, Jossie milk, and Dexy milk. It's so cute.
That's adorable. I wonder how different it is too, because you
like
know
the
if you're
taste, you mean, or like
Yeah.
just
the
like like whatever the makeup of it, because each kid, if you're nursing, like a toddler and an infant, like it's different.
Mhm.
So I wonder how
and their
different.
antibodies would go into each boob.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Also, we skipped right over how much these beasts weighed.
Oh, yeah. They were tiny, itty bitty. I thought maybe.
You're a liar.
I thought maybe I
We
would.
have photo evidence otherwise.
I thought, of all the twin, myths, I was like, well, maybe, this is the one I believed. I was like, well, maybe they'll be a little bit smaller than my other
Because
kids.
how much did your others weigh?
8'10", 8'8", and 9'2".
Oh my. Okay.
So I was like, well, maybe they'll have like 7.5 pounds.
yeah,
right?
and they'll just come right out.
Well, I mean,
in
they
your
came right
sleep.
out, but
Semi-truck, but still
Yeah,
came
yeah.
out.
yeah. But no, Dexter, so baby A was 8 pounds, 10 ounces, and Joss was 9 pounds.
Oh my word.
Cannot even imagine it.
It was a little
I'm not,
crazy.
that's the one thing I'm having, my brain isn't wrapping around that.
How 2 babies that big
Can
like,
coexist in a
inside
womb.
of her.
Yes.
Yeah. 55 centimeters, that's how.
That's like almost 17 pounds of baby.
And then you add in placenta,
Mhm.
water.
It's a fluid.
That's
I
over
read
20.
we skipped
Oh
over
my
your placentas
gosh.
too. Like how was that placenta? Like how was delivering 2 placentas versus delivering 1?
Hard, but and not so much the placenta. It's like my belly was there's just so floppy, right? And I was expecting also, so after pains, I was like, oh god, this is gonna be really bad. Like I was almost more afraid of the after pains than the birth itself. Not a one, no after pains.
Stop.
Whatsoever.
Did you bleed? Did you hemorrhage at all?
I think so a little bit. We did have Pitocin on hand, so I did do some Pitocin.
Okay.
You know, wasn't really paying attention to how much it was, but I heard that there was a little bit of blood loss.
I did hear that there. So did they come out like how did that go? Like the
The placentas. Yeah, it took a while, and I had to get the birth stool, and I was really pushing it. I was like lifting my belly, just trying to like line up the chute, I guess, right? So it definitely took a while, and I had to push really hard. One of those moments when they were finally out. I was like, goodness, that was worse than the birth.
Did they come out like one after the other, or was it spaced?
One
again?
came out, and then there was a break before the second one came out, and the membranes were kind of intertwined a little bit too. So
Super interesting because it's like, how did your uterus clamp down just one part, not the
Yeah.
other? And
Right. Yeah.
It's fascinating.
yeah,
She's
that's
like,
it's
I don't
weird.
know. I just do it really well. I don't know how it
I
happens.
think it's one of those things, there's a lot we don't know about it, and we try and understand it, but it's like, usually if it happens naturally, it's going to work.
Mhm.
So the immediate postpartum, like over that 2 weeks and then going on, were they nice enough to want to nurse at the same time, or was it like you get one down and the other one wakes up and
No, they pretty much nurse at the same time most times, and they would fall asleep at the same time. Every once in a while, one would nurse and not the other, but I mean, it was really infrequent.
it's so nice of
Yeah.
them.
Now, the other thing, another myth of twins, I co-slept with them, right?
Yeah.
So we had our king-size bed, and then we had a twin-size bed side card, and I would basically just nurse one baby in bed with me, and then, so they alternated at night, which was convenient. So I could nurse one baby, and then roll that one onto the bed, and then get the other baby and roll over and nurse on the other side, and I was able to co-sleep. Every once in a while, they would wake up at the same time, and I would nurse one baby in the bottom boob, and I would lay one on my side to nurse on the top boob.
Because you can just at that point just
This is
toss
just
it
go
over.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was,
Oh
it was
my
very
gosh!
interesting.
And you're having another one after all that.
My husband said that we were not having the other one, but here we are.
They say that, and then they forget how it happened.
Yeah.
It's like it just goes right out of their brain.
So, after all of that,
Mhm.
for any moms out there listening who want to hear about twins, what advice do you have for moms about raising twins or birthing twins or just anything you want to say to people out there listening?
For being like not assuming that twins is this high risk pregnancy, like we get, unfortunately most of them go the OB route, and we're going to the maternal fetal medicine, and they
You're
are.
scanning like every week to make
Yeah.
sure one baby's not stealing everything from the other baby. And
I think that we have a lot of TMI pregnancy stuff happening with twins, like we're too much
Yeah,
information.
right.
So, we forgot that twins is a variation of normal and can be normal, and it kind of makes me sad, when we have all this stuff pressured on moms.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
I wish we could get that out there because there's we've had moms where we've cared for twins and then they choose to like have a C-section in the hospital, which I'm always like, do whatever you're comfortable with, obviously, but yeah, it's definitely like, oh my gosh, high risk, and what if this happens and what if that happens, and I'm like, well,
there's a lot of what ifs, but what if
it
everything?
doesn't?
Yeah, what if it's totally normal?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a couple opportunities to work with twins, but unfortunately all the moms that I've tried to serve with twins had preterm deliveries.
Mhm.
And so what's your perception on like taking it more easy when you're pregnant with twins? Because I guess like
You were asking
I
the
know
wrong
that's not
person. Yeah.
your style, but like
Mhm.
did you even though it's not your style, did you recognize that you did need more breaks than you thought you would, or
Definitely at the end, I did work until 38 weeks, but my schedule was lighter, right? And protein you have to
Do you
eat
go by
all
like the
protein.
brewer's diet, like trying to get
I
how
don't
much?
No, but I definitely am paying
Had to-
attention. Like
yeah,
every
okay.
meal has lots of protein in it
How,
all the
did
time.
you count like did you have in your mind like I want to get this many grams a day?
Yeah,
Like,
150 is the goal.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
that is what the brewer diet says.
Yeah,
for
I think
twins.
so. Yeah. I think that's the rough number they use.
Yeah.
But just in my mind, okay, I got like 2 eggs and a smoothie for breakfast, and then I got my morning snack
Whoa,
with some
my
cheese
gosh,
and some
there's
nuts.
so
and
much
some-
thought process going into like every second.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think a lot about stuff, but
That's why you carry 25 pounds worth of stuff in your belly.
And
then
I have heard
and
from
25
other
pounds of stuff on my butt.
twin moms I've cared for who try to get that much protein and the amount of water you're supposed to drink, and they're like, you have to be eating
Yeah.
constantly to try and get to your protein goal
Mhm.
because you're growing two human beings.
And it's funny, when I started this pregnancy, because I always gained 50 pounds with my pregnancy, or did with the first 3, I was like, I'm not going to gain 50 pounds with this pregnancy. And then we found out I was twins. I was like, crap, I got to gain 50
fine.
pounds
Yeah.
at least.
At
right?
least.
I know, so.
Can you tell everyone how old the twins are? Because we're talking about you being
Yes.
pregnant now,
Mhm.
and so they're probably thinking
Yes.
she got pregnant 2 weeks after she had these twins.
Oh, God, no. No, the twins turned 2 last September, so they're 2.5 almost. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
And 2.5 twins. Ooh, honestly, more scary than carrying
Yeah.
twins and giving birth to twins. Twin 3-year-olds
Yeah.
terrifies me.
I
but
mean-
maybe they'll be close and do everything to each other and not to
Including
you.
murder each other.
Yes, they are best friends and best enemies. That's my saying, because they can be super sweet
Frenemies.
and also beat each other up all the time.
Do
But
they have their own language like they talk about twins having?
if they do, I mean, they literally talk to each other now, so like in sentences. So I don't know that they did, and they're so different. So that they were fraternal twins, and they're so different. I could see where like, identical twins maybe have their own language, but I
But
didn't
they're
see
just
that with the boys.
not like the 2 peas in a pod kind of
I mean, they definitely hang out all the time together, but they're not like
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We when growing up, my neighbors, there was a couple, and they had a son who was like my brother's age. So at the time, they're like a 12-year-old son, and they're like, okay, maybe we'll try for a girl. And then they got pregnant with identical twin boys, and they're like, okay, well, let's try again for a girl. And then they got another set of identical twin boys.
Wow.
And so they it was really cool to see because it was really interesting. It did seem like the younger ones, especially because they were only like 2 when I babysat them, they did seem to have like their own language and communication, but they were so similar. Like they had to cut their hair different ways to tell them apart because they were that similar to each other.
That's crazy.
So it's just like it's really interesting to hear. Like I wonder if there's been research on that. Like if there's differences between like the connections between like fraternal versus
I think there
identical
have
twins.
been
Yeah.
some research on it. I don't know it, but I've heard of things like that.
Yeah.
And so that also funny thing. The chance of having 2 sets of identical twins is pretty low, but
Yeah.
fraternal twins, it's a 1 in 12 chance of having twins again
Oh.
because I'm a hyperovulator, right?
Release,
Yeah.
release
Yeah.
the eggs.
So
Release the eggs.
so definitely when we got pregnant again, we're like, oh, there was definitely lots of like, oh, did we make twins again
Yeah.
moments? But this is just
What's
one
our
baby.
financial situation?
Oh God.
Have you? So when you found out, did you do? Because I feel a lot of my clients ask me about hereditary, like factors.
Mhm.
So I haven't done a ton of research on it, but my understanding is that fraternal twins are more likely to occur if you had twins on your maternal side.
I
Did
believe
you
that's
hear
correct.
that
I
when
believe
you were
that's
pregnant?
correct.
Okay.
And that it can skip a generation.
Yes.
Which would make sense because my
Grandmother.
was a twin. Mhm.
Okay. Cool.
Mhm.
All very interesting.
Yeah.
It is
It
very
is interesting.
Mhm.
Well, we really have to wrap up this half of the episode, and
I
I, think
don't
it's
want
time
to.
for your patients to start coming in. So, do you have any final sage words of wisdom you want to impart?
Just do lots of research, and there's some really good birthing multiples naturally groups out there. Like if
Yeah.
you want to have a natural birth with twins, you can. It's totally possible, but you have to be an advocate. You cannot. I mean, the system will steamroll you. So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's things in checkpoints and all this stuff you should be checking, but it's tough not to let them get in your head. That,
Yeah,
you
so-
know.
And that anxiety can derail, natural births or unmedicated births, but it's just like, I like people who know it is possible to give birth to twin babies. It is possible to breastfeed twin babies. Like, so many people are like, just don't think it is.
Yeah, finding those supportive people to talk to.
And there are, for people who aren't into birthing out of the hospital, I know there's OBs that will allow vaginal twin births as well.
Yeah.
You just
Oh,
have to
there's
really
some-
seek them out
Yeah,
and
it's some research.
right, research. But I mean, if you're willing to do that, then it is possible.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted to say a little cheers to all the twin moms out there, multiple moms. Like, God, you guys are such badasses. I find it hard enough to take care of one baby, so the fact that there's people out there that are surviving.
I don't know.
have 2 babies.
I meant one
At
baby
a time.
at
At a time.
Yeah. And they're not babies anymore, thank the Lord.
True.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah. So, yeah, just the fact that, I mean, God, like, I just want to, like, bow down to you guys. Like, you just put it all out there and you take care of raising these little humans and you survive it, and I feel like it puts us all to shame.
Yeah, thank you for keeping us all really humble.
It's funny. People will ask me, "How do you do it?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. Don't ask."
Yeah.
me.
Don't.
Right.
Not a
I don't know. It just happens.
You
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
have to because
Figure
you're,
it out.
because you're in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for everybody out there, and thank you so much for coming on, Dr. Emily.
Thank
Yes.
you for coming to hang in my office. It was
It's-
so fun.
it was
I'm like
so
one of your
fun.
biggest fangirls, so.
Well,
Yay.
you're amazing. And I will say, we started out, we were supposed to start at whatever time, 10.
Yep.
But then when we got here, we were just over there hanging out
It
for
was
like
so fun.
ridiculous
Yeah.
amounts of time.
Yeah.
So, the only other thing that we have to say is
Cheers.